Hey guys, Mike Lazarecki here. Welcome to another episode, and I just wanted to wish everybody who is watching from the US a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys are all having a great one, and eat some turkey, take some naps, enjoy. So yeah, last Thursday evening I went to a special event. This special Panasonic event was put on by Woodward Camera, Axle Brewing Co in Ferndale, Michigan, and Drinx N Lumix Detroit. That was an event that I actually found on Eventbrite. So if you're ever looking for these cool events to go to, check out Eventbrite. It actually is really pretty cool. You can just find cool stuff to go and, network and hang out with other people. But either way, this event was really a neat opportunity to be able to go and have hands-on experience with cameras that you don't own and have representatives from the manufacturer there to answer questions for you so that you can get the real information directly from the company that makes the camera. So during the event, I was mostly interested in testing out the Panasonic GH5S. I am a former GH5 user. I had the camera for a little over a year and loved using it. It was a fantastic camera. So when they came out with the Panasonic GH5S, I was interested, but there were some specs and features that I wasn't really sure I was going to be happy with. So I never really ended up picking one up. I also wanted to take a peek at the Panasonic G9, which I did not get an opportunity to shoot with, but I did get a chance to kind of hold and look through some of the menus and things like that, which the G9 is an excellent camera. I love the grip. I love the ergonomics. The still shooting specs on it are just incredible. So I started out shooting on the GH5S on the Leica 8-18 f2.8 lens. And, well, I'll show you some of the footage now. Okay guys, so currently I am shooting on the Panasonic GH5S, which is the little bit better in low light version of the GH5. I've wanted to mess around with this for a little while because I had the GH5 and currently I'm filming at ISO 3200, and ISO 3200 was where I deemed the GH5 as totally unusable last time. So at this particular point in time I'm going to go around and check out some of the models and mess around with this camera some, and yeah, check it out. So I am going to trade back in this lens, which is the Leica 8-18 2.8, and I'm going to see if I can't get my hands on the Leica 42.5 1.2. Definitely want to try that out in a photo mode with this GH5S, which lower megapixel as far as a stills camera goes, but it still takes beautiful images. So see how that goes. As soon as I get through the line. Alright guys, I'm going to turn in the 8-18 and see if I can't get a 42.5 1.2, and I'm mostly going to be shooting stills with that and some B-roll. So as you can see there, the Leica 8-18 is absolutely tack sharp. It is such a sharp, crisp lens. It's beautiful to work with. I love shooting with that lens. It actually, because of the conversion of micro four thirds to full frame equivalent, it actually brings itself to the focal length of one of my favorite lenses of all time, or pretty close to it. The lens that I'm referring to is the Canon 17-40 LF4, I believe it is. But that lens is incredible. I love the focal length, the ultra wide to kind of a medium normal. So after that, I traded in the Leica 8-18 millimeter, and originally I wanted to test out the Leica 42.5 1.2. Unfortunately, the 42.5 f1.2 was all checked out by that time, so I did have a chance to try out the 42.5 f1.7 by Panasonic. The rep actually told me that it's about 95% of the optical quality for $1,000 less. So I thought, well, let's give it a try and see what it is. I loved that lens. What a beautiful B-roll lens. To be honest with you, it is so small and tiny, it looks pretty ridiculous on the camera body, but it is so crisp and so nice to actually shoot B-roll with. It is not good for a vlogging camera. As you can see in these shots here, it's just way too tight to even holding it all the way out as far away from me as I could. I just could not get that thing to stay focused and stay reasonable on my face. So, but aside from that, the B-roll that I was shooting, a lot of the B-roll that you see in this episode was shot on that lens. And then also I'll show you some stills here that I shot on that lens as well. All of these stills are shot with the GH5S. I'll be honest, shooting stills on the GH5S is something it's kind of bittersweet. I do really like the color that I get out of that camera, and I liked the color that I got out of the regular GH5 originally. The problem is that the GH5S does not have anywhere near as many megapixels as the GH5 did. So you do not get that resolve, that resolution out of that sensor. It's only a 12 megapixel sensor. And I am one who doesn't really have a big problem with a lower megapixel count. I still from time to time shoot on a Canon 5D Classic from 13 years ago. That is only a 12 megapixel sensor. The difference is the pixels are so much larger on the 5D. You get more detail, you get better dynamic range. And with the GH5S, though it's newer technology and you do still get some pretty good dynamic range out of it, the pixels are much smaller just by the nature of the smaller sensor. They physically can't be any bigger. So part of the problem is that you just didn't have that resolution that we're all kind of getting used to with these larger megapixel sensors. So overall, I really enjoyed shooting with the GH5S. For video features, it is incredible. It is actually considerably better in low light than the original GH5 was. I pushed it to about 6400 and it stayed clean so long as I did not go into the variable frame rate modes. The minute that I kicked it over into variable frame rate, I started to see strange pattern noise in the footage, which you can see here. And I'd call this a bit of an extreme case, considering this was not only at, I believe, ISO 6400, but it was also shooting at the maximum variable frame rate, which was 240 frames a second on this camera. So it's really, really stretched out on that codec. So I'm not surprised that there's a lot of noise, but it's not just a lot of noise, it's this weird, horizontal pattern. On another note, I did get an opportunity to step aside with TJ Houston, who is a tech rep for Panasonic. And while I had his attention, I did ask him about the Panasonic S1 and S1R, which are the upcoming full frame offerings from Panasonic, which I guess we should expect to see a little more of next year. I didn't get a date, but here's that footage now. All right, guys, so I'm here with TJ from Panasonic.
Absolutely.
And right now I'm actually testing out the GH5S, which is one that I've wanted to kind of screw around with for a little while.
Great camera.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you about, I understood that you had a little bit of experience with the S1 and maybe the S1R.
Yeah, so at PhotoPlus we had like a mock-up of the S1 that was in the case. So
okay.
Everything that we know so far about the S1 is the 4K 60, the high-res viewfinder, the dual card slots. It's going to be a camera that's made for professionals. It's something that there's no sacrifice in any area. So anything that you expect from our cameras, we've always been dedicated to listening to what users say. So we took all that feedback and we created a full frame offering for what they were looking for in a camera. So the image stabilization, the 4K 60 video, that hybrid shooter in mind, we took all that and built the perfect full frame camera for users.
Awesome. So are we still looking at 10-bit internal?
So none of the video specs have been released yet. So
okay.
You can look for that in the spring coming up. What we released was an intent to build. So we said, hey, we're going to build a full frame camera for the world. So as far as the specs that have been released, that's all the information that we know right now.
Okay.
So we don't know of the video features other than 4K 60. A lot of that information hasn't really been released yet.
Okay.
Yep.
So we don't know if it's going to be full readout or any of that?
We don't. So
okay.
You can look for that information after the first year, more towards spring when the camera actually gets released.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you talking
Absolutely.
to me. Thanks,
Enjoy
man.
the event. Yeah, we're at Drink and Click here. We're in the Detroit metro area, so we have models here. We have all of our cameras to check out. It's a really, really fun event, and thanks for coming. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
Cheers.
it. Thanks.
Cheers.
So as you can see from this little micro interview, it sounds like these two cameras are still going to be kind of geared mostly towards still shooters, but with the hybrid shooters in mind. I imagine the S1 will probably have better video features because of the lower megapixel count. That's just my opinion of it. But so the main, video specs that we are all interested in finding out about are still not really available, at least to the public. I don't know how much TJ knew and wasn't telling me. It doesn't really matter. The moral of the story at this point is we will still have to wait and see. I'm still excited for these two cameras to come out. I'm excited that Panasonic is throwing down into the full frame market. That's really where I want to be personally, and I can't wait to see what they bring to the table, because what they've done with the GH5 is amazing. I want to take an opportunity and personally thank Panasonic, Woodward Camera, Axle Brewing Company, and Drink and Click Detroit for putting on this event. It was a very fun time. It was nice to be able to get out and hang out with a bunch of other crazy camera people. It was nice to be able to see these cameras and be able to talk to reps from the manufacturer. These kinds of events are excellent, and I love the fact that you guys put it on. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Let's do another one sometime soon. I'll be happy to join you. So if you guys like this episode, please hit that thumbs up. Remember to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Later. And I will see you guys next time. Later on. That wink was weird.